Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar Made in the UK, Shaping the Future of Manufacturing. My name is Jennifer Castañeda and I'm delighted to be your host for this inspiring conversation. Today's session is hosted by the Women in Manufacturing UK initiative, a non-profit network of professionals working within and with the manufacturing sector to promote diversity and inclusion. The initiative is led by the Institute for Manufacturing at the University of Cambridge, the High Value Manufacturing Catapult, and Innovate UK. We are particularly pleased to be hosting this panel in celebration of the National Manufacturing Day. Before we begin, a few quick notes. The session will run for approximately 1 hour. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A function. We will address as many as possible at the end of the discussion. The session is being recorded and the recording will be shared tomorrow on our social media channels as part of the National Manufacturing Day celebrations. It is now my pleasure to introduce our panel chair, June Barberel Prince, who will be guiding today's discussion. June is the commercial manager at Preston Technical, a family-owned adhesive tape converter serving the automotive industry. Born into the manufacturing world, she grew up surrounded by a strong network of supported people who encouraged her to pursue opportunities in the sector. At 26, she admits she hadn't fully realized the challenges many women face in manufacturing until she began listening to the experiences of others. This opened her eyes to the importance of representation, advocacy, and creating an environment where everyone feels valued and supported. Now, firmly establishing her role, she's passionate about using her platform to inspire the next generation of talent, both young people and women, to see manufacturing as a dynamic and rewarding career path. She believes success in the industry is not just about innovation and technology, but also about the people who build each other up, collaborate, and wave the flag for positive change. Her vision is a manufacturing industry where inclusivity and support are the standard, not exception, where every individual entering the sector can find the same encouragement she has experienced. Through speaking, she hopes to shine a light on those stories and inspire others to join and thrive in this evolving industry. Over to you, Jen.
Hi, everyone. Waving the flag for change is three amazing panelists, and I've been reading through the bio, so I'm going to introduce them now. We've got Chatyoka, I hope I said that right, is an award-winning entrepreneur, brand owner, and advocate for women in manufacturing. She is the founder of Uhuru Botanicals and Cosmetic Formulation Academy, where she empowers underrepresented women through natural plant-based beauty formulation education. Neo developed Botanics AI, a groundbreaking tool that supports learners in cosmetic formulation. She has received recognition from Innovate UK and Lloyd Banking Group and was named one of the top 100 changemakers in manufacturing. Through her work, Neo champions access, innovation, and inclusion in the beauty and manufacturing industries. We also have Sarah Blacksmith. She is a passionate and active promoter for enhancing the productivity of UK manufacturers. Since June 2022, she has been at the helm of the motion control business in Siemens Digital Industries and is the sustainability lead. Sarah believes that digitalization, ongoing advancements are pivotal in achieving UK sustainability and productivity objectives. With an impressive tenure of 23 years at Siemens, Sarah has held multiple positions at two factories located in Congleton and Lincoln, which has greatly enhanced her understanding of the industry. Sarah graduated from university in 2004 with an honours degree in manufacturing, engineering and management. Sarah completed a Masters in Operation Excellence from Cranfield University in 2016, and earlier this year completed her global MBA at the Alliance Manchester Business School. Sarah holds a deep admiration for the manufacturing sector in the UK, recognising the incredible talent and innovation that exists with the country, regularly documenting this on LinkedIn. Sarah firmly believes that diversity is a crucial element in unlocking the full potential of engineering manufacturing industries. She advocates for greater diversity within businesses and engineering courses, as she believes it's essential for driving fresh perspective, innovation, and ideas and transforming approaches. And lastly, we have Tim Minshall, John C. Taylor Professor of Innovation at University of Cambridge. Tim Minshall is head of the Institute of Manufacturing, head of IFM's Centre of Technology Management, and fellow of Churchill College. His research, teaching, and engagement activities are focused on the links between manufacturing, innovation, and skills. He is a recipient of a University of Cambridge Pilkington Prize for Teaching Excellence and Royal Academy of Engineering Excellence in Teaching Award. Tim is a member of the board of directors for IFM Engage Ltd and the Muller Institute Ltd and chair of trustee of the Foundation of Young People's Mental Health. In 2025, he published Your Life is Manufactured, How We Make Things, Why It Matters, and How We Can Do It Better, a book that explores the hidden systems behind everyday products and calls for more sustainable, equitable approaches to global manufacturing. Your Life Manufactured has been shortlisted for 2025 Royal Society Science Book Prize. Right, a lot of words. We'll move on to the questions and let you have some of the talking now. Okay, so for all of you, the first question is, what first inspired you to get involved in manufacturing?
Who wants to go first? I'll go first. Yeah, so it was my dad's an engineer, civil engineer, so I think that was part of it. And I was also a massive F1 fan. So back in the day, Michael Schumacher, I was a huge F1 fan. I used to go to Silverstone every year. And yeah, that's what sort of inspired me to get into, well, to pick engineering and to pick maths and physics at A-level, actually. And then obviously didn't carry on to go to an F1 team. But yeah, that's what got me picking engineering anyway.
Brilliant. Yeah. Neo?
Right. My journey started in 2017 when I was struggling to find a product that worked well for my daughter's skin, who was struggling with eczema. So that got me into researching about how to make a product from scratch for to clear eczema. And I think the interest in making products got me to then want to know more about manufacturing, what it is. And I think what actually got me started or to start thinking like a manufacturer was when I moved from my garage into my own factory. And that's when I think it hit me that, oh, actually, this is manufacturing. And when I went into manufacturing, I realized there's not many women in the manufacturing industry, especially underrepresented women. So it was then important for me to shine the light on manufacturing, shout about it and encourage more women, especially women from underrepresented backgrounds, to join the manufacturing sector or, take up roles in manufacturing.
Yeah, brilliant. Tim?
So, wow, how to follow those two. So my story is a little different. I grew up in Norfolk. It's a very rural part of Norfolk. And so manufacturing was not a visible thing as I saw it then. So I went off to study engineering in Birmingham and then got to see much more of what manufacturing is and one view of it. But it wasn't until I became an English teacher, English as a foreign language, and moved to Japan and had this revelation of seeing manufacturing as a very visible and natural part of daily life, and something about Japan and other countries as well, where it's very visible, the whole link between art and craft and science and technology and making things is very clear. And that completely changed my worldview of realizing how important manufacturing is for everything that we do. So I came back to the UK and that's how I got started.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, I was brought up with manufacturing all around me, really born into it. Both my parents met at the place that I currently work at, funnily enough. And my dad just says I'm right nosy because I just have to know what everything does and where everything goes. Yeah.
Right nosy, I love that.
Right nosy. Okay, so How do you see manufacturing contributing to solving society's biggest challenges, such as sustainability or healthcare?
I mean, I'll do a plug for Tim's book. He hasn't paid me to do this, but it's a good read. But in that, like, you know, everything in our lives, we wouldn't be able to function in our lives without all of the things that are made both in the UK and that we get shipped in from abroad. So, you know, we can't live without manufacturing. And I think that it's really contingent on the engineers and the engineering expertise and the manufacturing expertise that we've got in this country to help solve the problem of climate change, given that industry contributes a lot, probably about a third, I think, is the stats of you know, global emissions. So yeah, I think I remember seeing one of the talks that Professor Steve Evans from Cambridge did as well, and you know, I'm a big fan of productivity and using technology to make us more productive, but ultimately if we're being more productive, we're using less energy, we're using less resources. And yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity in UK manufacturing to harness technology to make us more efficient, and thus reduce the amount of resources, etc. That we're using. And I can't remember the stats that I was trying to find all my notes from the session that I listened to when I was preparing for this panel. I couldn't find it, but yeah, I think like focusing on productivity and continuous improvement, and not necessarily revolutionary technologies is a huge opportunity for manufacturers. So yeah, I think we definitely have our part to play.
I mean, I look at it in the perspective of how I've built Uhuru Botanical. So when building Uhuru Botanical, I learned that sustainable manufacturing isn't just about using better ingredients, but it's also about changing who has access to manufacturing knowledge, and also how products are created from cradle all the way from start all the way to the end, to grave. So I think that for me was quite important when building Uhuru Botanical, and also designing waste out of the system entirely. So what I mean by that is that we move from making products, bottle shampoo, bottle shampoo, and then moved into solid bars and conditioners because they use less water, the less consumption as well because they last longer. And then we use just natural and biodegradable ingredients. So all that for us was important in terms of, you know, looking at how sustainable we can be as a company. In that way, it's more of a by doing that, it's more of a waste prevention process than rather than, you know, just managing the waste and continuing to practice unsustainable practices. And secondly, I think providing that knowledge, manufacturing knowledge to women and underrepresented communities, I think was really important for me, because then when someone knows and understands how a product is produced, they think differently about how to make it and think about more sustainable ways on producing that product. So again, that was really important for us as well. So I think that's how companies can be more sustainable in the manufacturing process, I would
I think
say.
that's a good point, Neo, because like a lot of it, and I know Tim, you speak to this a lot. It's hidden, isn't it? Like other than the obvious, there might be some big factories around where you live, but a lot of people just don't see manufacturing, do they? So, like you say, bringing it to the fore and bringing it, you know, educating people is like part of the responsibility that manufacturers have, isn't it? To like,
Yeah.
then you get a view of like, okay, what's the impact of my decisions then of what I'm buying? Yeah, good
If I
point.
can just jump in to pick up on one of Neo's points there, I think it's great that it's articulated so beautifully that it's not a I'm going to design a thing and there's a separate thing which is it's going to be made. It's what you described there is it's all part of that same thing. And I think there's been this slight weirdness that there's a load of stuff we do over here, which is design and development, and then there's a making bit. And as you say, Sarah, that this making bit for some people is just happens elsewhere.
Chuck it over to the makers, like yeah.
Right. But it's all part of the same
Love that.
thing. And yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The overconsumption with this nation is absolutely crazy. So educating where you can educate to just make better choices in everyday essentials is definitely a key. Right, okay, Tim, Sarah, what do you see as the most exciting technologies that will transform UK manufacturing in the next 10 to 20 years?
Cool. Do you want to go first, Sarah?
Okay, that's going to take Tim to go first. Yeah, I mean, I think like one of the things that I've had experience in the factory in Congleton has been like immersive software. So I think there's like a huge opportunity with like simulation software, like some of the immersive technology to you know to help manufacturers of the future again be more productive. So I think that's a massive step for identifying productivity opportunities, and then or working back from what your goal is, and utilizing that technology, so you're not actually doing stuff in the real world, and coupled with what we've just been talking about from a sustainability point of view, you're not wasting any metal by cutting using machine tools before you need to. You're not breaking ground on a factory that you don't know it's necessarily going to do exactly what you want as the end goal, and actually doing that virtually first. So yeah, that's been a massive learning for me over the last probably like 5 or 6 years, but I think that's a big opportunity for manufacturers in the UK to make way more advancements and do things a lot quicker, and get productivity onto the shop floor a lot quicker. So but yeah, I mean Tim's obviously at the cutting edge of all of the technology. So what's your thoughts, Tim?
Well, just building on your point there, I guess there's trying to think about this beforehand. There's sort of things that are going to help us deal with geopolitics. We don't necessarily want to get too much into that, but there's something manufacturing is probably there's going to be more local manufacturing. And to do that, we're going to need certain technologies. And I guess the other one is around personalization and customization. As you say, Sarah, all of the simulations allow you to say, well, can we do this in the most efficient way? But also, can we think about how we make it for smaller, more select for specific customers? And the example that keeps coming up as we talking to lots of people is, listening to lots of people rather, is things like personalized medicine. So you go from a world where you've got, thousands of products made for millions of people, and we could be moving to a model where we're going to need millions of products for millions of people, which completely changes the way you're going to need to do manufacturing. And yes, part of it will be digital, but part of it will be, well, how does that business model work for manufacturing where everything is made for potentially a single patient at the extreme? So I think there's lots of really interesting kind of business use cases that are going to drive changes in manufacturing, but they're also going to be technologies that are pushing changes in what we can do.
We're all going to have like a little additive manufacturing machine that just we get the ingredients through from the from the pharmaceutical companies.
Maybe. I think there are 1 or 2 intellectual property and cyber.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, that's the idea, right? And I guess
Yeah.
one other one that does my head in is quantum technologies, which I keep trying to understand and don't. But someone just said, don't worry about how it works. Just work out if it did work, what could it do? And to your point, Sarah, it sort of could speed things up orders of magnitude. So you could run not just one simulation, but 1,000 simulations before you make a decision on where to build something or what to design. So there's a whole lot of manufacturing benefits that might come from these quantum machines. But then there's a whole load of manufacturing challenges of building the quantum machines.
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing, but others much better able to comment on that. I don't quite get it, if I'm honest. Perhaps shouldn't admit that publicly, but
Yeah, but you've got lots of clever people alongside you in the Institute for Manufacturing, so it's all good.
they have to explain it to me very, very slowly, and I'm still not getting it. So maybe I need to ask better questions.
I think, can I just add to that discussion? I think that there's a time when I posted something around using virtual reality tools, VRs, the AVs and VRs, to train people, especially women who are learning how to manufacture products, or are off maybe on maternity leave and need training or retraining or something like that. So those are some of the tools that can also be used to help women getting into manufacturing. So yeah, I think that's one of the Yeah.
That's a really good point. Like, yeah, the whole upskill. I mean, we've not even got on to skills yet, have we? Like, but when we do, that's like that's a huge topic on its own. But yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I think like, and particularly in some of these, like safety critical environments as well as what you're saying, Neo, from an upskilling point. But like in aerospace manufacturing or in like using some of those tools is definitely going to give us an advantage for sure. Yeah.
It will give loads of people access to
Yes.
what seemed quite difficult to enter. So, yeah.
Good point.
It was interesting to hear a discussion on the technologies and not hear the word AI, with that being the buzzword.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
stay away from it.
yeah. There must be a reason for that. So we'll move on. So Tim, Neo, what skills and mindsets will be most valuable for the next generation entering this sector?
Oh, Neo, do you want to kick off on that one?
Definitely digital fluency. I would say that is important as a foundation. Tomorrow's manufacturers, yes, will be using a number of digital tools, but at the same time, they also need to think digitally. We need to change the way we think. We need to think about the processes of how I would say the data flows within the production system, how AI is used to optimize, the formulation process and the whole product development process. So I'd say, yeah, definitely digital fluency is very important. Solution first thinking. So not just creating products for the sake of making products, but think about the outcome of the product before designing the product. And I think that's where also digital tools come in, which will really help with that process of mapping out the product type and really prototyping it online before actually producing something, which is something I've been looking at because we've recently launched Botanics AI. So that's also looking at creating that product, developing that formula before we actually make the formula itself. So that way we are reducing waste, back to that sustainability topic. So yes, I think these are some of the ways that manufacturers need to start thinking going forward. I think I'd say those are the two that I'm currently thinking of.
It's really interesting. And if I can just build on that with a couple of thoughts. One of the things that I don't know if you agree, Neo, is having people who are comfortable in sort of two worlds. There's the digital skills, but there's a very real world physical, you're making a thing. And maybe in the past there's been people who are really good at this or really good at this. And I guess we need is what you're saying is people who are at that overlap. Is that right?
We need both. We need the technical and the human side. So I think we need to learn to integrate the two together. You can't do one or the other now. We just need to start thinking that way.
Really interesting. And one of the things we're struggling with slightly is there's almost, isn't there, a line between the things that people do and then technologies that can augment what people do and help them. Then there's things that are automated, and I'm straying dangerously into Sarah's territory here, she'll correct me. And then there's autonomous stuff where we're saying that we're not just going to tell you do that without us being involved, but we want you to make that machine to make the decision. And it seems that we're going to need people who get all of that. And that's going to get a bit interesting. And then I was talking to a few companies about this, that struggling to find people, as you say, Neo, who you want experts here and experts here, but those who can speak each other's language. And this sort of issue of empathy, that yes, I'm working in, I don't know, cement production, but I totally get what digital technologies can do for me, even if I don't fully know them. And then people working on digital technologies who say, well, I need to understand how cement is produced so that we can work together. And it's almost the soft skills of, what do they call it? Boundary spanners. People with soft skills to be empathetic either way. You still need your own expertise, but there's also something about just putting yourself going, yeah, but I need to understand enough about this other world. I think maybe those skills are quite hard to define, but I don't know if others agree, would seem to be pretty important.
Yeah. No, if I could just add in that like on the softer skill side, I went to this school for last week for as part of business in the community, just talking to a bunch of year nines, which was terrifying, by the way. And yeah, part of that, like that I was really talking about was like communication skills, you know, being able to communicate effectively and give feedback, and remembering like no matter what job you do, you're going to have to talk to people, you're going to have to be able to get on with people. And I think those sorts of skills will continue all the way, you know, regardless of what technology. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Sarah, that is quite important, the communication process, because if the company in the whole for this the system that you're talking about, Tim, to work, the whole company needs to have a communication system that kind of transfers information from the technical team to HR to the different departments. Do you know what I mean? So that they can all have an input on how the system works. So that's the only way
Yeah.
we can all work together, I would say. Yeah.
I used to say communication is king, but now I say communication is king and queen.
Sure.
And before we move to another team, we have a question from the audience. And they mentioned, obviously, I mean, you're mentioning how technology in manufacturing is moving at pace. And the question is, we are already seeing a shortage of college tutors to cover the current courses. So the question is, where are the tutors going to come from to teach the next generation?
Yeah.
Excellent question. I'll have one stumbling attempt at this, and others will come up with better ones, I'm sure. But does this, June, you were saying we hadn't mentioned much about AI, but is this one of those places where there may be a role for AI? So we're working with, got some companies locally who are looking at this issue of lack of skills in certain places as certain roles are not being refilled as people approach retirement. And yet these are critical roles. And I'm thinking of things like, and I'm getting to the question, but it's a related example, if I may, of those responsible for estates and facilities management, say in hospitals. Very, very skilled role, vital to ensure the successful operation of a hospital, which is a kind of manufacturing operation. How do you make sure that we have people who've got all the right skills and deep knowledge of everything that's going on around, say, compliance or safety? How do you do that? And so you end up with a blended solution of there are great people, there are a smaller number being recruited, but they can be aided through the use of AI. You can do things to bring that knowledge to the people as and when they need it. And I'm wondering whether there may be a role within the tutoring environment to say it's absolutely the value of the skilled tutor supporting people to develop their skills, but they can be aided and enhanced by access to tools that kind of get the knowledge in the right place at the right time. I don't know if others agree on that one or have other views.
I mean, if you've got a shortage of those tutors, like that's one solution, isn't it? Yeah, that you can utilize technology as long as it's trained in the right way, I guess, from an AI point of view. That yeah, to aid people. It's a bit like, you know, Neo, you were saying in terms of aiding people coming back into the work, like, you know, to make it more accessible, that yeah, you make it more accessible, but through the use of a different tool such as AI, instead of, like, in that case, the headsets for doing physical work, that yeah, you're aiding and potentially, yeah, making it accessible then to people who hadn't really considered it before, maybe. Or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to, well, as well, like particularly, I don't know if we're talking about particularly engineering and manufacturing colleges or engineering colleges, but the perception then of the whole industry comes into play. Do you think, like, you know, actually making it enticing to for people to work in engineering, to work alongside industry as a college tutor, and having those links into industry, like yeah, building our brand as manufacturing and engineering in the UK is also maybe comes into part of that as well.
Yeah,
Try and get people. Sorry,
as someone who did their degree during lockdown,
oh, did you?
it was I did my master's degree during lockdown, and it was very painful because
Yeah.
you missing that human interaction. Even though we were live on a call, there just is something about being there in person. From when I went and did my undergraduate in Manchester, moving all of it online, it's one of them. I feel like AI can definitely help I mean, if we'd had that whilst I was doing that, it'd been a different situation. But yeah, it almost felt like it didn't feel like a degree. It didn't feel like I was fully, present and there and learning. So yeah, I mean, the shortage is quite scary, and yeah, I'd like to see what they end up coming up with for the next generation, to be honest.
I think also using the current where we're moving mostly to apprenticeships where people have external experience than just staying within, colleges and so on, just in the educational institutes, but they get also experience outside can also help in them learning these new technologies and way of working in manufacturing. So I think that's another way.
Yeah, I agree.
A good question from the audience there.
Brilliant. I think there is another question in the chat actually. So I don't know whether to leave that one. So we've got one more question that I've got here, but I might ask this one first because this seems quite interesting. So this is, I'm going to butcher this, so I'm so sorry. Wamimbi Joanne, biomedical engineer from Uganda. And their question is, given the global push for localized manufacturing, what strategies would you recommend for countries like Uganda to build sustainable medical device and healthcare equipment manufacturing industries? And how can partnerships with global manufacturers be structured to transfer not just technology, but also skills and innovation capacity?
I think that's a question for Tim, 100%. I think there's a course at the Institute of Manufacturing for this as well.
It's thank you to Wimby Joan for that. It's a great question. My fear is that it would take the rest of this webinar to give it a full and proper answer, but maybe just picking out a couple of points, and Neo and Sarah, you may have thoughts on this as well, but there's something about appropriate manufacturing for different contexts. This is something I think that's come out in the UK's industrial strategy, which we're very pleased exists, and has got some great things in it. It's not trying to do the same as everybody else, but saying what is the thing that fits within this context? What's the thing we should be doing in this context, wherever it may be? I think that's one part. The other thing, I guess, around skills and innovation capacity, it's that issue of where in the supply chain, or more accurate, the value chain, do you think you can best play the right role? And the third and final bit would be over what time frame? Because if you're trying to scale up manufacturing operations around something as precise and as compliance driven as a medical device, it's what would be the journey for doing that? Wherever it's going to be done, to go from zero to a compliant medical device is going to take a while. So what would be the steps towards that? So, but yes, I think that's a question that deserves a very fulsome answer, and I'm happy to respond offline about that one. But I think those would be the main bits. It's about context specific. It's kind of what's the business model that's right for you, and then what's the time frame for trying to set this up, because each of those questions could lead to a slightly different answer. But others, please.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I just think of like the UK, and in certain areas it's been built on history, hasn't it? Like, in terms of like, I guess, like the lakes where you got BAE Systems, and that's been built out of obviously like war times, I guess, and then you've got Lancashire with its advanced manufacturing sort of heritage, and Sheffield with the steel. Do you know what I mean? It's all evolved. Like part of it is it seems, seems to have like it's evolved through certain requirements that have been had at the time. And then also government investment, I guess, in the future technologies, and in the UK point of view, like the sector plans that as part of this new industrial strategy, that targeting investment, to your point, Tim, isn't it? Like the business model for that particular whichever industry that you want to focus on. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And on that last bit about the skills side of it, the time taken to develop the right skills, and news we're seeing at the moment about the US and the visas. One way is you bring, if you don't have the people with the right skills, bring them in. But actually, you may say, well, actually, no, it's much better. And one of the reasons we're doing this thing is to develop our own workforce, but that's very hard to do quickly. So it's all the balance of getting the right skills in the right place at the right time.
I mean, I'll just add in terms of how to build sustainable medical device. I think it also depends on the resources available. I think you've also mentioned that. I'm not sure. Yeah, we can only build on what's available and use that to then, build sustainable manufacturing equipment and so on. So it's difficult if that's not already available in Uganda. How do we get that to Uganda and start building from there? So, yeah.
Brilliant. I think there's another question in the Q&A, which is quite a broad question. I think we could all have an insight on this coming from different parts of manufacturing. But Donna's asked, what is the next big opportunity for UK manufacturing?
I'm hoping it's one of these 8 sector plans that the government's got. So yeah, I'm hoping that like of those those 8. I mean, particularly the one I'm interested in has been around the advanced manufacturing side of things, but yeah, hopefully for UK PLC, it's obviously defence is huge, and aerospace, clean energy, pharmaceuticals, to name. I'm struggling. You're like, right, what are the others? I can't remember them off the top of my head, but yeah. From my point of view, like hopefully, like our expertise in advanced manufacturing technologies, the great universities that we've got, the catapult system that's been set up, and then making sure that we're taking that innovation and actually building on it with manufacturing in the UK, with these new sector plans and this new industrial strategy. I think that's what's really key, that we build on the innovation and keep it as much as we can in the UK, and we don't because I think historically we're great at innovation, but we're not great at scaling up in this country. Yeah, that's my thought.
No, I think if I can just add to that, I think one of the huge things we could really benefit from is it's partly the recognition of the value of our advanced manufacturing capabilities to do other things. And it was great seeing a talk from Dave Smith, the National Technology Advisor, ex-Rolls-Royce and all sorts of other great things. He's made this point. He said, look, we have this great science and technology, but the way in which it delivers value to society is when it becomes a product of some sort.
Yeah.
And just to say, well, we don't need to worry about turning it into a product bit, coming back to Neo's earlier point, it's really important that we join these things together. So perhaps to Dana's question, the opportunity is integrating manufacturing in more tightly into our innovation system. So it isn't just we'll be good at science and technology and then another thing will happen somewhere else. It's all part of the same thing, but we haven't, I think, quite, personal view, I don't think we've quite got to that point yet. Still regarded as we'll do this and then there's this thing. But as you described, Neo, beautifully from your example, it's all part of the same thing. From idea to design to development to product to scale up, that's one journey. And I think the opportunity is for us to get even better at joining all that up. Would be my,
just to build, I think like one of the benefits that Congleton always has is that we've got R&D and manufacturing and customer services all on the same site, and that's invaluable for all the feedback that you get on things that are going on in the manufacturing process about how you can make things better. But yeah, you have those like light bulb moments between when you're doing a root cause analysis, but you've got like people from customer services, you've got people from R&D, and you're all like, they have like light bulb moments as they're going through it, because they think, oh right, yeah, but you wouldn't get any of that if it was all separate, which it seems to be in lots of places. And I think like that's a huge benefit and something that we can really build on. You're right, Tim.
If I may use and take advantage of my host role and just put my women in manufacturing hat, I think one of the biggest opportunities as well in the sector is to improve diversity and inclusion. Yeah, we've been looking at different numbers, and yeah, it seems like about a quarter of the manufacturing workforce will reach retirement age in the next 10 years. So I think there is an imperative there that we really need to diversify the workforce. And obviously, it's not only about the skills gap, but it's also about the knowledge, the creativity, the innovation that diverse groups bring. So I think, just to emphasize what a big opportunity that is.
Agree.
I agree.
100%.
We've got another question in the chat that's from Elizabeth. What role do partnerships between manufacturers, governments, and educators play in shaping the future of the industry?
Like a massive part, if I was to answer that. Yeah, I think it's about all of us collaborating. I think the UK Manufacturing Forum that the IFM and Catapults hosted a couple of months ago, like I think that was one of the main takeaways that I took was, it is all about all of us collaborating together to make the UK successful in manufacturing. Like across all areas, like if you're talking about skills and bringing people, again, we've all got to work together to figure out like what does industry need, what are the skills of the future, how can the university support that, how do the colleges and what does government need to do, right the way through to like the technologies that we need that's going to keep us competitive and keep us like on a global stage, being able to keep manufacturing in the UK and using innovative technologies that are created and developed in our universities and then go through our catapults and eventually into industry. So it's 100% for me. It's all about collaboration. But, I think you ended on that, Tim, on your speech at the end. I think that was definitely one of the takeaways that I took from the UK Manufacturing Forum was that working together is absolutely key.
Absolutely, and I think it stops the finger pointing, because sometimes the discussion is, wow, what's the government ever done for us? And then, well, industry doing this, and you end up with quite a lot of confrontation sometimes.
Yeah.
And the skills example is perhaps one of the best ones. It's a really complicated issue about skills for the future. The skills depend on the businesses we've got and wish to have, and the technologies we've got and wish to develop. And the skills is such a clear example of that, where you say, well, it isn't for industry and any organization to say the public sector must provide us with all the perfect workers for our world. Similarly, it can't be just companies developing people for certain things, because they'll say, well, we could do all that, and then people go and work somewhere else. So there's got to be a sensible partnership between government and industry and academia to say, well, how do we build a sensible talent pipeline for manufacturing that's right for now and right for the future? And as you say, the only way we can do that, I reckon, is by having a sensible joined up conversation, and more importantly, active partnerships, which say, well, we've all got a role to play in that. But sometimes it gets, I don't know if others agree, it gets a little bit fragmented sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Neo, you're at the forefront of you're going in and actually teaching, aren't you?
I was going to say that, for me, personal experience is getting that funding through Innovate UK, which helped me to start off my manufacturing company. So if that was not available, I was already missed in the educational system because that's not my background. So to be able to be picked up there and get that funding and start my business has really helped me to then help others who want to learn how to manufacture and so on. And I go into universities and teach around manufacturing and product development to sometimes to students who are learning hair and beauty, who have never been into manufacturing or never made a product themselves, but they're actually learning now how to create a product from zero all the way to seeing a real product which they can get out into the market. So it's very important. I think we have that partnership between the different departments.
Right, a brilliant follow-up question from the chat as well. Thinking about collaboration and working in partnership, how can the legal sector play a role in supporting these developmental aims? Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah, because I think one of the ones that the only one probably that comes to mind about, when they did the ventilator challenge, and you almost stripped away all of those, the potential risks and stuff, and then everyone really collaborated amazingly, because they were like, oh, we don't have to worry about anything. And I know you're never going to get a place where no one's got to worry about anything, but I think that really helped to drive that common goal, because people weren't. Yeah, that's the one that springs to mind when I think about it. But yeah, I'm not totally sure on how we get there. Like, that's not very helpful, is it? But
There isn't there a really positive role for the legal sector in this, which is it's the enabler of collaborations. And sometimes it gets a little bit beaten up by being, oh, well, it's, because of compliance and risk, and we're not going to do that. But actually, without that, you must guarantee nothing's going to happen, or something really untoward could happen. And it was, as you say, Sarah, in the ventilator challenge, it was working out what the acceptable risk was. And I guess one role of the legal sector was to say, well, if we do this and move at this kind of speed, are we still going to be compliant? And of course, the whole project was. But because they really understood what the legal implications were, I guess, from a liability, but also from an IP point of view as well. When you're suddenly sharing lots of things amongst thousands of partners, who's controlling that? So I think there's a very positive role for the legal sector. And this is like regulation in general is an enabler, if done right, is an enabler of innovation. It's not a blocker of innovation. And I guess sometimes we sort of say, no, we're going to try and minimize this and reduce it and exclude this, because then we can be free to do whatever we want. But the truth is, if we did have that, we might do some slightly less good things. I don't know, Neo, from your experience of, you're on the front line. You make products that people buy when there are legal implications of getting it wrong. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's important that we have the regulations and compliance, because, like you're saying, if we don't do it right, a lot of people can be hurt along the process. So it's very important that we do follow legal processes in, from testing the product out and getting it out to the market, and making sure that we're following all the regulations that come with it. So I think it's, in that aspect, in our industry, it's very important when it comes to manufacturing products. Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I think that's what I can contribute on that one.
If I may again take advantage of my host role, I think, it's a great question because it also highlights the importance of different roles in manufacturing. I think when we think about manufacturing, usually we think about engineers, but I think, we need to highlight the diversity of roles, and perhaps June can tell us more about this, and how she was interested in manufacturing from her role in marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I came from the marketing background, so very creative. Kind of wish I'd gone into engineering, because that's what I thought being in manufacturing was all about. But realistically, it isn't that. And when I got asked, so I'll be at the Women in Manufacturing next month, and I was speaking to my dad about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, but like I'm not really in manufacturing, am I? I'm just doing marketing, or I was doing marketing. I know, and I was just like, eh. And he was like, yeah, but you're promoting sticky tape. It's not exactly the easiest thing to promote, is it? You've got to understand what market it's going into, where it's going, how it's being used, where it can be used, the strength of it, and all this stuff. He was like, that's manufacturing. That is the beauty of it. You are in manufacturing. You're just as important as the engineers, because you have to get it out there. And I think knowing the different types of roles that are within manufacturing, because they all exist, finance, marketing, all of them are there. And I think that was the key for me, that like getting the word out there, you don't have to just be an engineer to be a part of all of this. You can go down something more creative. I think that was the key. And I think that, the legal side of it is just another part of it. If that's something you're interested in, it's something that benefits manufacturing, even though some people might not see it like that. But it does.
Yeah, without marketeers, if you've got a product but we can't get it out to the market, then without marketeers like you, then we won't make any money anyway. So it doesn't matter.
That's the one.
And legal also, you think about IP as well, if you're going to be registering your business, and you're making sure that your manufacturing company is covered in terms of, any legal suits and stuff, you still need legal. So yeah, it's very important in the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, I think as well as like, you know, if we didn't have all them restrictions, would we really want to be in the country that just kind of allowed everything? Because I know I wouldn't. And I know that some companies look at it, well, I'll just go produce somewhere else that doesn't have them restrictions. We don't want them here anyways, you know, contributing to that side of it. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Maybe just chucking one other point linked to that diversity and all the different roles. But I guess it's also coming back to the question about we want people with a very strong legal background who also understand manufacturing. I think it's this issue. It's back to that point about sort of empathy. It's absolutely got to have skills and absolutely respect the skills for what they are, whether they're in marketing, legal, production, R&D, whatever. But it's understanding that role in context. I think is super important.
Yeah, I agree. Right, we've not got as of now any more questions in the Q&A bit, so I'll ask the last one. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in their career in manufacturing?
I would say approach every challenge that you face when you get into manufacturing with curiosity. You know, I think what got me here is that I've always been curious of if we were to fix this problem, you know, what would come out at the end? If I was to start an academy, how many people can I help? Who can I help? If I have to, you know, start this technical botanics AI, how is it going to help someone else? So always be curious. How is it that you can use the skills that you have to improve or grow within the manufacturing industry? So yeah,
And
curiosity.
yeah, I think that's a really good one. I think because I read Carol Dweck's book on mindset, and yeah, just like really struck out is like, yeah, focus on putting the effort in, you know, picking something that you're passionate about, and yeah, and like ask for help, ask for support, and yeah, don't just go after some things you think, oh, I've got to be 100% perfect at it. You know, just keep trying, keep putting the effort in, and ask for help.
And just two quick points, nothing really to add other than reinforcing that. I always find it astonishing how willing people are to help.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a feature of manufacturing, but it seems to be full of people who are very excited and happy about what they do. And when someone asks a question, they go, oh, I'd love to explain that to you. I'd love to, oh yeah, there's another way it can be done. So there's something about never being shy to ask, not necessarily for help, but just, can you tell me what you're doing? And I
Yeah.
can't remember where I got this from about looking down, looking sideways, looking further ahead. So it's looking down and being really good at the thing you do. We all want to be good at what we do and be given the chance to do that. There's also that point about, you know, respecting other people in the things that they do in other bits of the business, like legal, marketing, wherever it may be. But also that kind of looking up and outside and going, well, how do they do it over there? And then maybe link back to the point about people wanting to share what they do and wanting to explain things. People, I think it's for all of us, we've had this experience. People love talking about what they do. And if you just ask them, often the problem is getting them to stop telling you what they do. But it's such a nice thing, isn't it? People want to help and want to explain what they do. And if you just reach out for it, you can learn so much.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all the questions that I had prepared. And we've actually gone and answered the ones that were in the chat, so that was really good. So Jennifer, I don't know if there's any more that you'd want to ask at the end.
Yeah, just one final question. I mean, considering that we are celebrating the National Manufacturing Day tomorrow, what will be your advice for manufacturers to engage more with local communities and to showcase better the role of manufacturing for their communities, but in general for the UK?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? I mean, I would encourage people to get involved with Make UK because I think they do a fantastic job of promoting the membership that they have, and they're sort of regionally based as well. So they've got like managers or regional managers, you know, for each of the regions that they're in. So yeah, I would definitely encourage people to look into Make UK, if you've got a manufacturing business or you want to find out about what manufacturers are in your area, because they have so many members. I can't even remember how many, but lots and lots. So I think they would be an excellent place to start and get information about.
I would say I'd encourage, manufacturers to look into women groups in the community. There's so many women events which go on, around the country at different times. I think that a lot of women do not know that they can actually get involved in the manufacturing industry. So, arranging to maybe go and speak to some of those groups and telling them more about manufacturing, that is important, because I think people representation is important. So you are what you see, basically. So I think manufacturers need to be more involved in the community groups that are currently available within their community.
And I think, just adding to that, having an open door as much as is legally and safely possible, having an open door approach so people can see what you do. And as you say, Neo, going out and talking about what you do is absolutely brilliant. But also, if it's possible to kind of let people see what happens. But back to the earlier point about the role of the legal industry in this, it's making sure we can do that safely and simply, rather than being, it's too difficult to let anybody in for safety reasons. But there are ways it can be done. And then I hate to say this, but the role of social media, what I've just found really interesting is so many manufacturing firms on LinkedIn and Instagram and other places I don't quite understand, just not trying to sell something, sometimes they are, not saying we're looking to recruit someone, but just saying this is what we do. And it's just amazing. People just talking about what they do. And I think the more that can be done like that, the more chances are people are going to pick up on that who might otherwise not even be looking or aware that manufacturing is so interesting and can provide such an enjoyable and rewarding career.
Excellent, thank you. Any last words, June?
No, I mean, feeling very inspired. I was just after reading the introductions, to be honest. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love this industry, and I tell everyone about it. Yeah, and like you said, I don't shut up about it. It's what I speak about in my spare time as well. But I do believe that it is so important to educate and make sure we push it out to the next generation. Try and make it look as enticing as like the tech industries and stuff like that, because I know that's what gets the next gen. But yeah, it's great. I love it.
Thank you, June, and thank you for sharing the panel. You have been brilliant. Thank you, Sarah, Neo team, for your participation. I think we all enjoyed this conversation, and I hope it can inspire new generations to join the sector. And thank you all the attendees for joining us today. I would like to remind you, as Sarah and June have mentioned, we will have our Women in Manufacturing conference on the 23rd of October. You can register to participate in person or online, and this is a one-day event. It is open for everyone, not only women. We want also more men to participate in the conference, and the focus is about improving gender representation and to make the sector more inclusive in general. It will feature inspiring speakers, including Sarah and June will be there. We will have interactive workshops and excellent opportunities for networking. Thank you once again, and we wish you all a very good rest of your day.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.